What would you do if the person you loved most died because the world was just a little too far away? This is a powerful motivational story about grief, consistency, and a man who refused to accept impossible as an answer. With nothing but a hammer, a chisel, and unwavering resolve, he challenged a mountain that had stolen lives and futures for generations. This story isn't about strength. It's about showing up every day, angry, tired, doubting, and striking anyway. If you're struggling with discipline, consistency, or feeling unseen in your effort, this story will stay with you. My name is Arjun Hale, and this mountain ruined my life long before it killed my wife. I was born in Kailasa Ridge, a village so hidden between stone walls that maps often forgot we existed. To outsiders, it was just hills and dust. To us, it was home, hard, unforgiving, and familiar enough that we stopped questioning it. The mountain had a name, the Spine. It stood between us and everything that mattered. Schools, doctors, markets, opportunity. The road around it was long and cruel, bending for miles like it enjoyed watching us suffer. Stone doesn't care about men, the elders always said. Accept it. I tried to accept it. I really did. Every morning, I lifted stones for other men's houses. I broke my back so someone else could sleep safely at night. On my walk home, I always stopped at the same smooth rock near the mountain. I would sit, breathe, and talk to it like it was listening. One evening, my wife laughed when she caught me doing it. "You argue with stone now," she teased, handing me water. Her name was Mira. She had a way of smiling that made hunger feel temporary. Poverty didn't frighten her. Silence didn't scare her. Only one thing ever worried her. "This mountain," she said softly one night, tracing the outline of it in the distance. "It's not just stone, Arjun. It's a cage." I shrugged. Cages don't open themselves. She looked at me for a long moment. Then someone must open them. Life was hard, but with her, it was lighter. We planned futures we didn't know how to reach. Children. A small shop. Maybe a day when she wouldn't have to walk that dangerous path to fetch water. Someday, I promised, even though I didn't know how. Someday never arrived. It happened on an ordinary evening, the most dangerous kind. Mira was returning from the upper stream when her foot slipped on loose stone. I heard the scream before I saw her. By the time I reached her, her leg was bent in a way legs should never bend. "Arjun," she gasped, gripping my arm. "Don't let me sleep." "I won't," I said, even as panic crushed my chest. "I'm here. I've got you." The villagers came running. Someone shouted for a stretcher. Someone else shouted about the doctor. "How far?" I demanded. "Too far," a voice replied. "The mountain." "I don't care about the mountain." I screamed. "Tell me where." We carried her for hours. Sweat soaked through my clothes. My arms trembled. Every step felt slower than the last. The Spine loomed beside us, silent, patient, watching. Mira's grip weakened. "Stay with me," I begged. "Please. Just a little longer." She tried to smile. "You always fight things bigger than you." "I'll fight this too," I said, tears blinding me. "I swear." She exhaled once. And then she was gone. The road continued. I didn't. I sat beside her body until morning, staring at the mountain like it had spoken the final word. After that, days blurred together. I stopped working. I stopped talking. I returned to the smooth rock and sat there until the stars appeared. That's where Somdev found me, old bent, walking with a stick older than both of us. "You look like stone," he said, sitting beside me. "I feel worse," I replied. We sat in silence until he spoke again. "Do you know how many have died because of that mountain?" I didn't answer. "It steals quietly," he continued. "One life at a time. It teaches us patience until patience becomes surrender." I clenched my fists. What choice do we have? Somdev tapped the ground with his stick. "Every cage survives because people stop pushing." That night, I couldn't sleep. Mira's empty space crushed the air from my chest. I walked back to the rock before dawn, placed my hand against it, and felt something inside me harden. "If you won't move," I whispered to the mountain, "I will." I carved my hand into the stone until my fingers bled. Every strike hurt. Every strike mattered. "This is my promise," I said aloud. "I don't know how long it will take, but I will finish this." The next morning, I returned with a hammer and chisel. The first strike barely chipped the stone. The village laughed. "Arjun has lost his mind," someone said. "Go home," another shouted. "You can't fight a mountain." I didn't answer. Day after day, I came back. I touched the handprint. I struck the stone. My hands split open. My shoulders screamed. Hunger became normal. Children mocked me. Men shook their heads. Even my family begged me to stop. "You'll die here," my brother warned. I looked at the mountain. "Then it won't die alone." Weeks passed. Then months. The laughter faded into silence. One afternoon, I heard a sound I had never heard before. The stone cracked. Just a little. I rested my forehead against the mountain and laughed until I cried. "You hear that?" I whispered. "You're not invincible." The spine said nothing. But it was listening now. And if this story is resonating with you right now, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep sharing stories like this. I didn't tell anyone about the crack. I was afraid that if I spoke it out loud, the mountain would hear me and seal itself again out of spite. So I returned the next morning like always, touched the handprint, and lifted my hammer. "Good morning," I said quietly to the stone. "I'm still here." The crack was thin, barely wide enough to slide a finger into. But it was real. Proof that the mountain could bleed. I struck again. This time, the sound was different. Not defiant. Not mocking. It sounded tired. That day, my arms failed before my will did. I collapsed beside the rock, chest heaving, staring at the sky. "You see this, Mira?" I whispered. "I told you I'd fight." The next week, something strange happened. No one laughed. They still watched. Still whispered. But the laughter was gone, replaced by a kind of uneasy silence. Curiosity has a sound. It's quieter than mockery, heavier than disbelief. A boy approached me one afternoon, barefoot, dust on his face. "Is it true?" he asked. "Is what true?" "That you're making a road." I smiled without looking at him. "I'm making a promise visible." He stood there a moment longer, then ran off without another word. Seasons passed. My beard grew thick. My hands hardened until pain became background noise. Rain soaked me. Sun burned me. Some days I worked with an empty stomach, my head spinning, my vision narrowing to the rise and fall of the hammer. On the worst days, doubt crept in. What if they're right? I whispered once, slumped against the stone. What if this is all for nothing? The mountain stayed silent. But in my head, Mira answered. "Then let it be nothing. But finish it anyway." I began speaking to her out loud. "You would have scolded me for skipping meals," I muttered one evening, gnawing on dry bread. "You always said stubbornness without care is just another kind of foolishness." I laughed softly. "But you also said some foolishness is necessary." The crack widened slowly. Painfully slowly. Years passed in measured blows. My hair turned gray. My back bent. My hands lost feeling in the cold. And still I came. One morning, as I lifted my hammer, I noticed a clay pot beside the rock. Water. Fresh. I looked around. No one was there. The next day, there was food. I said nothing. Ate silently. Worked harder. Weeks later, Somdev sat beside me again, watching the stone fall away grain by grain. "They don't laugh anymore," he said. "I didn't ask them to believe," I replied. "No," he said gently. "You showed them how." The first real collapse happened in the 12th year. The sound thundered through the valley. Dust filled the air. A section of stone gave way, crashing down like it had finally run out of excuses. People came running. Some stared. Some cried. One man fell to his knees and pressed his forehead to the ground. "It can be done," he whispered. I leaned on my hammer, heart pounding, lungs burning. "This is only the beginning," I said. From that day on, I was no longer alone. Not in work, no one dared touch the mountain with me, but in presence. People watched every strike now. Children sat nearby. Elders stood longer than their knees liked. One afternoon, my brother approached, eyes lowered. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "I didn't stop swinging. You were afraid." "So were you." "Yes," I agreed. "I still am." Another year passed. Then another. The passage widened enough for a person to walk through. Then two. Then animals. I remember the first cart that passed through. The driver wept openly. "I used to lose half my goods going around," he said, gripping my hands. "Now I'll make it home before dark." I nodded, unable to speak. When the final wall fell, it didn't roar. It sighed. The mountain didn't collapse in defeat. It stepped aside. The path was narrow, rough, imperfect, but it existed. I stood there alone at sunset, staring through the opening, feeling something I hadn't felt in decades. Light. Life changed quickly after that. Children left for school at dawn and returned before dusk. Sick men reached doctors in time. Traders stopped overcharging when competition arrived. News flowed into Kailasa Ridge like a long-held breath finally released. People called it a miracle. I didn't. Miracles don't bleed for 22 years. A journalist came once, notebook in hand, eyes wide. "How did you keep going?" he asked. I looked at the road. Then at the handprint, faded now, almost gone. "I didn't," I said. "I just refused to stop." He frowned. "That's the same thing." "No," I replied softly. "Stopping is a choice. Continuing is a habit built from love." He asked me what I felt when I finished. I thought about it for a long time. "Empty," I said finally. "And full." Years later, when my legs grew weak and my hands could no longer lift a hammer, I sat by the rock one last time. "You did well," I told it. "You held longer than most." I placed my palm over the faded carving. And so did I. People still walk that road. Most don't know my name. That's fine. They don't need to. They only need to know this. If you're waiting for strength, you'll wait forever. If you're waiting for permission, it won't come. If you're waiting for the mountain to move first, it never will. But if you show up every day, angry, tired, grieving, doubting, and strike anyway, stone remembers. And one day, without warning, what once blocked your life will become the path that carries others forward.